Good evening, folks. It's time to discuss losing in Warhammer 40,000. But before I do that, I'd like to give a shout out to the some official partners of the channel. That is Composite Games. I've recently had my order today just come in. I put it in on Tuesday, and it's now here on Thursday. So thank you very, very much for them for sending me some models that I paid for and got 25% off, because if you use the discount code below Northern Exile, you will get an extra 5% off your order when you go on their website and you order your lovely models, bits, books, anything that you need from them. You will get an extra 5% off on top of the 20% off, up to 20% off, that is on off of most of their stuff that they have from Games Workshop, or any war game really that you want to get involved in. It's all there. I always say, if you find someone cool, find someone good, make sure that you back them up and you actually support them. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is. So, Composite Games, follow the link down below. Use Northern Exile to get your extra 5% off of your order. And you also get up to 20% off of your normal stuff anyway. Spot on. Right, let's go over some, not hobby horror stories this time around, but more general advice, I would say, about losing in Warhammer 40,000 and what you should do when it happens to you. Okay? If it happens a lot. None of us like doing it, right? It's a shitty thing to happen. It's a shitty thing to have to go through, especially when you spend so much money on your models and the things that you want to get done, and you've been spending a lot of time there painting away and slaving away over these lovely models, only to see them getting blasted away off of the tabletop once you've actually arrived to play your game. It sucks. But I've come up with 4 main points to go over and a story that I wanted to share with you. Well, 2 stories really. But anyway, the first point is, no one likes losing. Everybody hates it. You show me a good loser, as in somebody who enjoys it, and I'll just show you a loser. That kind of a thing, yeah? No one enjoys it. But you do catch more flies with honey than bile. What I mean by that is, if you want people to commiserate your bad luck when it's happening to you during a game of Warhammer 40,000, you normally need to make the first move. What I mean by that is, whenever I've played against somebody and I'm having terrible luck, I'll start complimenting them on good tactical moves. I'll start saying, that's a really good roll, man, well done, and things like that. 9 times out of 10, your opponent will reciprocate and commiserate with you on your bad luck. So if you're getting dicked on by the game, listen, we're playing a dice game. Things will go against us from time to time. Things will just go absolutely off the rails from time to time, and there's nothing really that we can do about it. The main thing for us to do is to take control of the situation, right? Realise, hey, this guy's playing quite well. Or, it's going against me this time, but, next time it might go my way. And make sure that you're pleasant to play against. One of the main things I wanted to discuss with you today was, when you look at the old 3rd edition rulebook, in the 3rd page, right at the bottom of the page, it gives you what the most important rule of Warhammer 40,000 is, or at least was at the time, and that is, both players need to have fun. If both players aren't having fun, you're not playing Warhammer 40,000 properly. And that is huge, especially for someone like me, who really values things like that. That is huge. The fact of the matter is that you can say, look, all of the rules in this rulebook mean nothing compared to this most important rule. We don't care if you break every single rule in this rulebook, as long as this front rule right here, that both of you need to have fun, is being adhered to. That is so important for me, and it really sucks that it's not in many of the modern rule books. But for me, I go by that rule. Your main responsibility when you're playing Warhammer 40,000 is to make sure that your opponent is having a good time. Okay? That may sound really shitty. It's your hobby too, and you put a lot of effort into these models. But hear me out. If you do this, if you ensure that your opponent is having a really good time, a good opponent will do exactly the same for you. They will reach across the table mentally, and they will have a lot of empathy for your situation if you're being shit on by dice rolls and things like that, by bad luck, right? and they will reach across and say, yeah, man, that is really terrible luck. You know, I almost want to cheer on your models here. Yeah, exactly, man. Thank you. You know, things like that. That will start to happen as you're playing Warhammer 40,000. Now, do you come across players who aren't interested in this? Yes, of course you do. Do you come across players who are there to play for blood? Yes, of course you do. But if you want to nurture the kind of people that you want to play and have a decent time with in the hobby, the only way to do that is to be the change you want to see. Alright, that is the first thing I wanted to go over in this video. Nobody likes it, but you catch more flies with honey than bile. Okay? Right, number 2. It happens to everyone. I did touch on this in point 1, but here we are in point 2. I wanted to put that in block capitals. It happens to everyone. Bad luck and shitty decisions in a game happen to absolutely everyone playing Warhammer 40,000 at some point. It can seem like the world is out to get you when luck is not going your way. But please, trust me when I tell you, it does happen to everyone. Some people, it happens to all the time. Okay? You need to remember that. It is so hard. This is the one I struggle with the most, because I have quite a self-persecuting personality. When I've done therapy, and I literally had a therapy session today, and then I found out that I'd uploaded the wrong YouTube video, which made my day so much better. But anyway, yeah, I literally had therapy today where we spoke about things like this. Well, I wanted to bring it up because I used it for a video last night that I recorded and then deleted after I'd uploaded it. Even though I didn't upload it, I uploaded the wrong one, and I wanted to die when I found that out. But anyway, backtracking. I do have a self-persecution complex, in that I'm generally not the biggest fan of myself at all. I don't think I'm a great person. There's no reason for that. That's just what I think, right? I'm not going out there kicking puppies or you know, making people's lives a misery or anything. I just don't think I'm that great of a person. And so when a game like this starts to turn against me, when I start to roll constant ones, when I start to get bad bits of luck, and when other people start bringing out gotcha rules that feel like the way out of left field, I can start to take it personally. You know, I can start to take it as if I'm being persecuted, I'm being targeted here. It is a fault of my personality that, you know, sometimes I feel that way about things like this. But one thing that has helped me is realizing, or trying to realize, that it does happen to everyone. The world isn't out to get me. Okay? I can roll all the ones in the world, but it doesn't mean that anything is going on other than I'm getting a nasty bit of luck right now, but it will turn around. And you will not believe, guys, the amount of games that I played of Warhammer 40,000 that I've turned right around after I've had an attitude adjustment like this. When I've calmed myself down and I've thought about it, and you know what? We get to like turn 5 or 6, and I've either almost won and turned out a wonderful end to the game, or I've won. you know, it's a very strange, swingy game. You know, unless you're playing somebody who is definitely out to get you, who's out to, like, you know, play for blood and all that. In general, when you're coming across players who are playing Warhammer 40,000, they're there to have a decent time. And as long as you're doing that, hey, you're playing the game correctly. That just is what it is, okay? Number 3. This is a story. And this is when I was working in a Games Workshop. So we used to have, when I was running my own store, we used to have a gaming night on a Thursday night. And these are always my favourite nights of the week, because we'd get customers in from all over the place who would come and roll dice and get enthused in the hobby, and I absolutely loved them being there, and I loved doing a bit. It was great. Fantastic. People often wonder why I have such a bee in my bonnet about Space Wolves. And I have said I've come across some players that haven't been very nice from that section of the hobby. And I've been asked to go over some stories of those people that I've come across in my time. And I didn't want to. Mainly because I don't want it to seem like every Space Wolf player is like this, because they're not. But also, I knew the story only really fitted into 1 or 2, you know, video ideas. But this is one of them. So there was a guy at my Games Workshop called Space Pup. I'm not going to use his real name, because, you know, that'd be a dickish thing to do. But yeah, we called him Space Pup. because generally, you know, I think it was something that just came from a while ago when he was talking about Space Wolves, so people started derogatively calling him Space Pup because he wouldn't stop going on about Space Wolves. He and his friends, who were all Space Wolf players, about 2 or 3 of them, would come in, and every single time you would be talking to a customer or talking to anybody about any other faction in the game, they would go out of their way to deride that faction and say, oh no, you know, the rubbish, that this part of the law is ridiculous and this part of the rules is stupid, and you know what, you know, you should just go with Imperium. Whilst you're Imperium, you may as well do Space Wolves because they're the best, blah 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 blah. You know, you could never get away from these guys, to the point that I had to take Space Pup outside one Thursday and talk to him. Now, unfortunately, there was nowhere for me to talk to him where people couldn't see us, because we had this one big window in front of our store, and I need to stay in the place where I can actually see into the store, so I've got to either stay by the doorway or by the window. And I took him by the window at this point, and I said to him, look, I applaud you for liking Space Wolves. Thank you. I really wish you'd frequent me with more of your business, but I applaud you for liking Space Wolves, and you have some very nicely painted models. Secondly, it's not your business what little Timmy wants to play. Okay? If a kid comes into my store and he likes Tau, that's what he's going to get. Right? Not everybody in the store has to play Space Wolves, and not every new player who comes in will find your furry-ass models appealing. Right? Some of them will want to play Dark Eldar. Some of them will want to play Eldar, some Astra Militarum, some Tau. It doesn't matter. The customer will get what they want. It has nothing to do with you, and it has nothing to do with, you know, with your buddies in there who all think Space Wolves are the best thing ever. I love the fact that you like them that much. I celebrate your hobby with you. But please, allow other people to have theirs celebrated too. Right? That was the dressing down he was given, and we walked back inside, and we got on with our evening. But I noticed in the coming weeks that Space Pup started to be rather sullen with me and with other people in the store about what had been going on. But he had also, when his friends had started doing things like, you know, deriding other factions in front of people, he would take them aside and say, listen, man, you know, I could see him doing it, saying, look, we can't say that, you know, blah, blah. We need to make sure that we're not being that ignorant, and we get on with things. And I really appreciated that. I thought, you know, what a guy. You know, this is really cool. Okay, fine. I then went home, and here's something from left field. I watched an episode of Battlestar Galactica because I'd been seeing this show for a while, and I've been going through it. And there is an episode, the new one, by the way, not the old one. There was an episode where the captain of the Battlestar, in particular, he's a really cool actor, Hispanic guy, older, got acne scars. I really like him. He literally is getting a bit of grief from his chief engineer, to the point where it's nothing that's overly, you know, bad. There's just something there that needs to be aired. You know, it's like a boil that needs lancing to draw all the wound out. You know, that they were having a very, very, very tough time, and so when there was a charity boxing event on the ship, he gives a really rousing speech about how they should all stick together and how, you know, the aliens won't win and this and that and the other. And then he literally says to this guy, hey, chief engineer. And the chief engineer looks at him from the crowd and goes, get your ass in here. And they have a boxing match, right? And it just solves most of the problems, right? They end up hugging and then everything goes well, right? Because all those feelings are aired. And so I went into Games Workshop, this was on the Wednesday night, and I went into the Games Workshop on the Thursday, ran the store all day, and then when Space Pup came in, I said, hey man, just wanted you to know I've realised what you've done speaking to your friends and making sure that they behave appropriately in the store. As a little reward, or as like a, a clearing of the air, would you like to play a game with me of 140,000? Now, I very rarely played games in the store, just in case somebody from management came in and reprimanded me for playing games in the store. But I said, hey, you got Space Wolves, I play Grey Knight, it's a grudge match, right? Let's do it that way, we'll settle the score. We'll see, from the law, he knew his law. I was like, yeah, from the law, we'll settle that score. We'll have Grey Knight against Space Wolves, And I even said, look, here's my list. Here's the list that I have I've written it up. It's there. I'm not going to change it. You can bring whatever you like. And I had the bog standard Grey Knight list. You had Drago there. You had 5 Paladins. You had 2 Dread Knights. Some Interceptors and a load of normal Grey Knights, essentially, and a Librarian. So not a huge list. It's just a 2,000 point, decent standard list. A few Terminators in there as well. Space Pup took my list, and he always brought all of his models with him. God bless him, because he was so proud of them. He really liked them, and he concocted a list with his friends designed to basically get rid of all of my 2+ armor saves, things like that. To just shred through my Terminators and my Drago and my Dread Knight, essentially, and leave everything else standing. Because, he figured that once they're gone, you've won the battle, and I'll just concede or something, I will freely admit that he should have won that game. His list was tailored to beat mine. He had some amazing units there. He had tons of Thunderwolf Cavalry, tons of Wolfguard Terminators, Logan Grimnar, the whole 9 yards. Literally, and loads of their Longfang Devastator units as well, which were just designed to pick off my Terminators at will. I didn't have that many models, right? So, he should have won this game quite easily. What then occurred is the finest example of the game curb stomping somebody that I've ever seen in my life. It's almost like the dice god said, no, not today, right? The Grey Knights are winning this, and they're not just winning this, they're wiping the floor with the Space Wolf. There's nothing left, My Drago and my Terminators and the Paladins and the Dread Knights literally annihilated everything that was of any consequence against me in the battle within the first 2 turns. Literally gone. He could not stop rolling ones. He literally couldn't stop rolling ones. To the point where we had Drago against Grimnar fighting away, right? And this is a common theme that will run into our next story after this. And he's constantly rolling ones to hit me. Drago's on 1 wound left, and he can't take that 1 wound off. He just can't. And bear in mind, all of his friends are watching this as well. I've just watched them get a pasting, right? And it just, it's not pretty. But Drago is also rolling ones. And this is like, what is going on? And, he fluffs all of his attacks again. We're now on turn 3. Okay. And Drago fluffs all of his attacks, but then it goes on to my turn, my next turn, my turn 4. In my psychic phase, I remember, oh yeah, I can smite. I've been forgetting to do it with Drago because he's in this really cool combat. Smite, bang, Logan Grimnar gone, and that's it. Game over, right? He still has units left, but at this point, the game is academic at this point. So, I commiserate with this guy. I'm like, man, this has been like terrible bad luck. Your list was like really, really good, and it was designed to beat mine, and it should have beaten mine, but this is like, the game's like gone against you here. And I feel something smack against my face, against my cheek, on the left here. What Space Pup had done, he picked up the 1 that he'd rolled for one of his previous attacks, the dice, picked it up and hurled it bodily across the table, directly at me, and it smacked me in the face. Now, if any of you know anything about me, it's that I have quite a long fuse until I don't. That's just how I am. And if somebody crosses that line into physicality, the red mist comes down and I tend to lose my shit. And I was very, very, very close. Right, kind of mastered myself, looked across the table and said, would you like to concede? No hint of humour, nothing. In response, Space Pup picked up his models, put them away, and walked out of the store as I helped other customers, leaving my models exactly where they were on the table. I never saw him or his friends again. That may seem like a win to some of you, but to me, that's a failed interaction with the customer. I don't want him leaving the hobby, because I think deep down he wasn't a bad guy. He just let his rage and resentment towards the game and towards me get the better of him. He felt hard done by because I'd not shouted at him but taken him to task in front of people. and he felt like this was his way of readdressing that balance, and the game had taken it away from him, and he'd reacted in the worst way possible. You know? So, I'm going to take a quick drink. So, let's pull this back to a better story. That's how not to handle frustration. Let's do a thing on how to handle frustration. I went to university at a place called Durham. It's quite a posh university up north. Don't know what I was doing there. And I had a friend there called Laurence. And Laurence, if you're watching, hello. And Laurence, if I can paint a picture, is 6'5" ish, very athletic, very good looking. He's a typical jock. You know, he's on the basketball team. He's very good with women. You know, he can hold his liquor. He's very charismatic. Goes out, has a good laugh. You know, and he's one of those guys, right? One of those guys. Bit of a Chad. So me and him are friends, and we've been friends for a few years since I've been there. But we've become a lot closer in I think it was our second or third year. We became a lot closer because he lived directly opposite me in the halls where we lived, and our halls are pretty sweet. Let me tell you, we had ensuite bathrooms, the lot. It was like a 3 to 4 star room. It was really, really nice. Anyway, he lived across the hall from me, and he sees me doing Warhammer because I've recently started Warhammer back again since I've been at university. And I'm really enjoying it, and I'm having a good time with it. And lo and behold, he comes along to a few gaming nights that we do, or gaming days on a Saturday that we do. And he has a blast. You know, he plays with a few models, and before I know it, Laurence has gotten into Warhammer 40,000, and he started collecting Dark Angels. He ended up collecting Grey Knights as well after that, because he saw my army and was like, oh, they're pretty cool. So when he got himself some Grey Knights too. But yeah, he started with Dark Angels. And it was hilarious seeing this, like, really popular Chad guy slowly have his life consumed by Warhammer. It was hilarious. Because you would not think, looking at him for 1 second, oh yeah, he's into 40k. He must have been driving his girlfriend mad, because his room was just getting filled with, like, Dark Angel bits and Grey Knights and all sorts, and books and all these sorts of things. And, one day, we were going to go for a night out on a Friday night, and we were chilling out in my room, and pre-drinking, and I said to him, hey, do you fancy a quick game of Warhammer? You know, we'd not played in a while, and we had a grudge match to settle, you know. And he said, yeah, sure, you know, I went and got my PDF board with scenery on it, and it looked pretty cool. I put it on my bed, and said, right, okay, let's go and get your army. He was across the hall, go and get your army, we'll have a go. We had a 2,000 point game, and it was going pretty well. I mean, I was getting curb stomped, but I was still staying in the game. I was getting more and more and more frustrated as the game went on. And it ended up, so Drago charges Azrael. Basically reverse happened of my last story. Drago charges Azrael to basically win the game at this point. Right? To win the game, he has 5 attacks in 7th edition when he's charging in. He goes in there, he rolls 4 1s and a 2. 4 1s and a 2 in close combat against Azrael to win the game. Azrael returns and only hits and then wounds with 1 attack. Right? Cool. I only have 1 dice that I've got to roll here. 1. Dead. Gone. Right? That's it. Gone. Game over. And at this point, my luck had been going really bad that Laurence had started, like, giggling and, like commiserating with me, and I'd be like, yeah, it's fine. When I rolled this last one, I stood up with a stoic look on my face. I turned around. I walked to my closet. I opened the closet. I got into the closet, and I closed the door behind me. All the while, Laurence is creased up, doubled up on the floor, laughing. He starts off laughing, and it grows as I walk over to the closet and get in. He just loses his shit. I've never heard someone... I swear to God, if he needed a piss at any point, he would have just pissed himself all over the floor. Like, I didn't come out for, like, a minute. I screamed once, and then opened the door, closed the door, walked over to him, shook his hand, good game, yeah. We put away our models, and we went out and got smashed. But But I've never seen someone lose their absolute shit like that before, and it's one of my priceless hobby memories of, you know, me not working with Games Workshop or anything. It's a nice innocent game of 140,000 where I just lost my shit, but I elected to do it in the right way to get a rise out of somebody in a good way. You know, I knew Laurence was going through a bit of a tough time at that point, you know, and you know, since then he's gone on from strength to strength, obviously, because he's awesome. But like at the time, he needed that, right? He just needed that a laugh, just a laugh, and the fact that he was able to let it out. That's the purest moment, one of the purest moments of Warhammer healing that I've ever experienced. And that's how you turn losing into something good. So you've had two different stories there. One's how not to do it, and one's how I would consider the way to do it. Have I always been great at losing? No. Sometimes I've been terrible. But that was one of my last Warhammer 40,000 games at university. And it was one of the ones that really cemented how I should play. And it really set me up for success when working at Games Workshop, because I play a lot of games, and with those games comes a lot of frustration, but it's how to handle that frustration and point it and use that energy and focus it into a way that's going to make somebody else's hobby better for them. And if you do that, he still sells that story today, you know, as far as I know. You know, and every single time we went out with anyone who knows what the hobby is, he would just like gush and start talking about this story, and people would just react to it. And would like, yeah, that's really, really, really hilarious, you know. That I wish that more things happened like that to me in the hobby, things like that, you know. But that's my story anyway. Time to get on to point number 4. So point number 4, we've gone over some wishy-washy things on how to actually handle disappointment in the hobby. But number 4 is actually a technique that you can use, that I use, and it's got me through a lot of frustration in the hobby. So number 4 is build lore around different victory conditions that are just for you. And what I mean by that is, for instance, okay, the Astral Blades, which as you know are the Channel Space Marine chapter, they are there to assassinate the enemy warlord, essentially, alright? So long as that aim is completed, any fallen brothers can be rescued by the main force that is on the way. So as you know, Warhammer 40,000 is a game where you're playing a battle, true, but there is supposed to be a larger battle going on around the battle that you're playing, okay? And the battle that you're playing is essentially the main focal point of the spear tip of what's going on, you know, the main part where the two commanders are going to come to blows and things like that, right? That's how it's supposed to play out, anyway. So, with me, even if my Astral Blades are taking an absolute pounding, as long as I kill the enemy warlord, in my head, in my own narrative, the Thunderhawks are on the way, all the big gunships are on the way to clear the way, and all of the brothers who fell getting to this warlord will be picked up, or the gene seed will be harvested, or they'll be rescued by the main force that is coming in. My guys are just there to finish off this warlord so we can be picked up and we can bug the fuck out, right? So I lose games all the time, but I always win them mentally, because I always kill that warlord, and I always tell my opponent before the game what the lore of my chapter is and what I'm going to try and do in that game. And 99%, I would say, of people are like, wow, that's really cool. That's a really cool idea. And they start coming up with their own ways of doing it. Because it eliminates the fear of losing. I don't have any fear of losing, right? And if I come across somebody who bubble wraps their warlord to stop me from getting to him, okay, fair enough. That's fine. But I'll just focus on the objectives then, and I'll play the game normally. Because as far as I'm concerned now, I'm trying to get battlefield supremacy so that when the Thunderhawks come in, we can blast our way to that commander once the game's finished, right? But so it doesn't matter to me either way. But I'll know mentally, maybe this guy isn't for me. Maybe I don't want to play against this person all the time because I told him something that was really cool to me, and his response was to try and ruin my good time. You know, because he doesn't get anything out of doing that, does he? If I say, "Oh, I want to try and assassinate your warlord," and as long as I do that, you know, my Astral Blades have done what they're supposed to do, so I'll consider it a victory, even though I'll lose the game. You know what I mean? Most people will take that and say, brilliant, yeah, you do that. I'm just going to try and win the game. Okay, fine, cool. Right? And you get others that say, oh, well, can I do something for me? Yeah, of course you can, and we'll come up with it together. You know, of what his army wants to do. And you'll get very rare people who tar pit, who try and tar pit you and keep the warlord away from you because they know what you want to try and do. But in doing that, they'll lose the wider game because they are sacrificing their game to stop you from having a good time. In that case, I don't want to play against you in the future anyway, but I'm still having fun, right? Try and build lore reasons for your army being there and give them lore objectives for being there, right? And as long as those are, like let's say that you're the Alpha Legion and you're there to get information each and every single time that you're there. And so you select one bit of scenery in the opponent's deployment zone. You say, I need to get to there. That's got some really, really, really high-level Imperial secrets on there that I want to get my hands on, right? Brilliant. These things are like salves on your ego when you're playing these games. They're just stabilizers. You know when you're riding a bike and you've got those 2 extra wheels behind you? It's like that. It's just like that. That's what I use. That's my main thing that I use to reinforce the first 2 rules. And the first 2 rules I put in effect here was, number 1, nobody likes losing, but you catch more flies with honey than bile. So always, always, always try and make sure your opponent has a good time. And 99% of the time, it's going to be reciprocated, man, I promise you. Number 2, always remember, it happens to everybody. It may seem like the world's out to get you, but I promise you, it is not. This kind of thing just happens in dice games. And number 4, because number 3 was a story, number 4, we are here to have fun, right? And that means build lore that gives you different victory conditions in your own mind of what your force is there to do, to help you through times when perhaps the dice are going against you. Because for me, with the assassinate rule, even if everything else is dying, as long as I think I can get to that warlord, all is not lost. And if I look at it that way, I never lose a game of Warhammer 40,000, because I always kill that bastard eventually, right? Alright, the 5th and final thing is, remember that reputational stains are forever. This is the high pressure thing, right? If word gets around that you're a bad player and you're not very good to play against because you're a bit salty or you're not a nice guy or this, that, and the other, people are gonna want to stop playing you, dude. People are gonna stop playing you, and people aren't going to be bothered about anything that you have to say about the hobby, and that's not cool. Nobody wants that, right? So just remember, if you're in a new situation, a new setting, these rules are so important. Because reputational stains stick around. How are you, as a loser in Warhammer 40,000, or any tabletop game for that matter? Do you consider yourself a good one, or a bad one? Have you ever come across any sort of stories where somebody's been a real sore loser? Have you been that guy yourself? Are you still that guy now? How do you plan to get over it? Let me know in the comments below. That's all I've got for today. But before you go, remember, please, by supporting Composite Games, you're supporting my channel. So please head on over there if you have any sort of hobby things you need to get. Things like that. They already do 20% off most of their stock. That is from Games Workshop and all other types of games. And if you enter in the promo code below, Northern Exile, just as it is below, you'll receive an extra 5% off. That's up to 25%. That's half of the Games Workshop staff discount, guys, that you can get at Composite Games if you live in the UK. I'm working on more things for people in other parts of the world. You have to leave that one with me. But for now, thank you very much for Composite Games for supporting my channel. Love you all long time. And I'll speak to you soon. Have a good one.